Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says terrorists and their backers will be hunted down and punished after 26 tourists were killed in Kashmir. Speaking in Bihar, he paid tribute to the victims and urged the nation to stand united in grief and resolve. A reported 9 people are killed and over 63 are wounded in a Russian missile strike on Kyiv. The attack on the Ukrainian capital has seen residential buildings damaged and the search for people under the rubble is underway. Beijing says there are no ongoing trade talks with Washington, dismissing President Trump's claims as groundless. China's Commerce Ministry flatly denies any negotiations to lower tariffs imposed by the United States. US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky clash once again over ending the Ukraine war, as Trump slams Kyiv's refusal to accept Russia's hold on Crimea. US Vice President J.D. Vance warns that if both sides don't agree to a deal soon, Washington may quit its role as mediator. After January clashes involving M23 rebels, the Democratic Republic of Congo and M23 vow to pursue peace. A deal signed in Doha offers a rare sign of hope that the long-running conflict could see a turn towards calm. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Iran must not enrich uranium under any deal with Washington, even as talks continue. Iran, however, has insisted that zero enrichment is unacceptable, making compromise hard to reach. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney campaigns in British Columbia, a key swing region ahead of Monday's national election. His Liberals lead in Ontario and Quebec, while Poilievre's Conservatives hold strong in the prairies. St. Peter's Basilica opens as tens of thousands gather to pay their final respects to Pope Francis, laid in an open coffin. Vatican says that nearly 50,000 worshippers have already come to bid farewell ahead of his funeral on Saturday. We have some breaking news coming in now. India has suspended all visa services to Pakistan with immediate effect, according to a statement from the Indian Foreign Ministry. Additionally, all existing visas issued to Pakistanis have been revoked. Medical visas issued to Pakistanis will remain valid only until April the 29th. We now move to some more news from the same story. In his first public comments made since the deadly attack in Falagam, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to swift retribution, saying terrorism will not go unpunished. Speaking at a rally in the Indian state of Bihar, Modi promised that those behind the attack would be pursued to the ends of the earth, emphasizing India's unshakable resolve to combat terrorism. Let's take a listen in to the statement by the Indian Prime Minister.
From the soil of Bihar, I say to the whole world, India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism. Terrorism will not go unpunished. Every effort will be made to ensure that justice is done. The entire nation is firm in this resolve. Everyone who believes in humanity is with us. I thank the people of various countries and their leaders who have stood with us in these times. मैं बहुत स्पष्ट शब्दों में कहना चाहता हूं जिन्होंने ये हमला किया है उन आतंकियों को और इस हमले की साजिश रचने वालों को उनकी कल्पना से भी बड़ी सजा मिलेगी। अब आतंकियों की बची खुची जमीन को भी मिट्टी में मिलाने का समय आ गया है।
This follows the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty and the expulsion of senior Pakistani diplomats as part of India's retaliatory actions after the attacks. Meanwhile, Pakistan's Energy Minister Awais Leghari criticised India's suspension of the treaty, calling it an act of water warfare. Pakistani Prime Minister Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif is chairing a meeting of National Security Committee in Islamabad. We are now joined by Lieutenant General Nitin Kohli, Senior Defence Expert, to discuss this further. Lieutenant General Kohli, thank you very much for joining us. I want to first move on to our breaking news, the fact that now all Pakistani visas to India have now been revoked. How significant is this decision to revoke all these visas as a national security standpoint?
Good evening, Thomas. Thanks for having me on your show. See, our stance has been very clear. The present government is a strong government. They take bold decisions. They take decisions in the interest of nations. And they have made a statement. Some non-kinetic actions have already been issued. They have been started. The visa which have been cancelled is just a minor thing. These people will not come and will not go, basically telling them that we don't need you. We don't want to deal with you. In any case, for these many years since this government has been in chair, they have been ignoring Pakistan. They have not been talking, but they've been saying terror and talks cannot go hand in hand. And now the visas have been cancelled. This is just one action. And I'm sure that in the series of various actions which the government will take, this is just the beginning.
Yes.
Okay, please.
Lieutenant General Kohli, obviously this incident has seen the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty. Pakistan is calling this water warfare, the first of its kind. Do you think that label is a just rhetoric, or does it just reflect real strategic vulnerability?
You see, we have had 4 wars with Pakistan so far since the formation of Pakistan. In 1948 was the first war. Never this kind of action has been taken. This and IW treaty has not been, this treaty was in any case signed in 1960. It has not been abrogated or suspended. This is the first time this kind of thing has been done. And if the Pakistan feels so, gives a declaration of war, so be it. We are prepared for that. And government knows it. Even if it is rhetoric or they mean it, you see, they are going to be hit by this. Today, in Punjab and Sindh of Pakistan, the farmers are already protesting because of scarcity of water, because their defense forces are converting they are creating defense canals and their water is being taken somewhere else. They are not getting adequate water. So once this treaty is suspended, they will be further affected with this. And then they will blame their army for this. Number one. Secondly, this treaty helps us in creating dams on these rivers the way we want it. Previously, when we are creating the dams, as per the treaty, Pakistan used to lay conditions. Like we made one on Kishan Ganga Dam, we made one more, Chandrabhaga Dam. Now we are free to construct these dams the way we want to do it. And if they feel that it's a declaration of water war, so be it. That is the aim of the government.
Yes. And with the National Security Committee meeting in Islamabad, should we be bracing for a tit-for-tat escalation?
You see, our government, when they have sat down, and even the defense forces, they have war-gamed various contingencies. And they do consider the conflict escalation ladder, what all can happen. And only then these actions are initiated. This is just the beginning. And then whatever follows, see, at the moment, if you see, the conditions are very good for our government to take action. Our government has total domestic support. Everyone in the country expects Mr. Modi to take action, strong action against Pakistan. Number two, we have international support. The whole world is supporting us, which we didn't have earlier. In
Yes.
2000, when Bill Clinton came here, this kind of attack was carried out in Chhattis Singhpura. 35-6 were killed. That time we didn't have support of USA. Today USA is supporting us, and remaining countries also, as you know, from various countries, they all are standing with us. And the third thing is, today Pakistan is the weakest economically, militarily, and socially. They are being hit by BLA, Balochistan Liberation Army. They are being hit by TTP in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They are fishers within their army. Equipment-wise, they are very poor. Their economy is in shambles. So we have all the pluses with us.
Lieutenant General, Prime Minister Modi, as we just saw in his speech, has promised to hunt the perpetrators to the end of the earth. What might that mean in terms of cross-border operations or intelligence cooperation?
You see, the message is very clear. And he has hinted also that there are no limits. Basically, he has said that there are no limits. The hunting will take place. Now, what in the kinetic actions, what actually they do on ground, that will always be very, very sort of secret. That can't be discussed on TV. Not that I am also not aware of that, but yes, all the options are there. You see, today there has been ceasefire on the line of control for last 4 years, which Pakistan has been making use of because it has shifted its army from this side to on the western border. So we should, firstly, if you ask me, we should break the ceasefire. Long-range guns, artillery, missiles should be fired, not only to their line of control, their Pakistani posts, but their training grounds of the terrorists. And also they have some of their brigade headquarters. Some of their formation headquarters are located in POK, where our weapon systems can reach. We need to send body bags back in Punjab. That will be the right message for Pakistan, and that's what our country wants to do. I mean, this I feel as army man. We must send body bags back in Punjab, in Pakistan, so that they understand what does it mean to kill civilians.
Yes.
Thomas, you're getting me?
Yes. And Lieutenant General, you have discussed this slightly previously, but how do you think these moves impact India's image on the global stage?
Okay. You see, our Prime Minister has been saying that this is not the era of war. But if the war is thrust upon you and you don't fight, then you are a weak country. The kind of things which have been taking place in these many years, they've been bleeding us through this terrorism supported by Pakistan. If we keep quiet, our image will be that we are a weak country. So now we need to send the right message domestically as well as internationally, that do not cross our red lines. Otherwise, you will be penalized.
Yes. Lieutenant General Nitin Kohli, thank you very much for joining us on the programme. We have some breaking news coming in once again. Pakistan has released a statement vehemently rejecting India's announcement to place the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. In a statement released by Pakistan's Foreign Ministry, the country expressed strong disapproval of the move, calling it a significant escalation in regional tensions. Furthermore, Pakistan has advised all Indian nationals currently residing in Pakistan to return immediately. In a reciprocal measure, Pakistan has urged all its nationals in India to depart before the expiration of their visas. The situation remains fluid as diplomatic efforts continue. We move on now. US Treasury Scott Bessent has said that the high tariffs imposed on China by the Trump administration are not sustainable, signalling a potential shift in US trade policy. Bessent emphasized that the current 145% tariff on Chinese goods and 125% tariff on US products cannot last in the long term, noting that both sides acknowledge the unsustainability of these levies. Let's take a listen in to what Bessent had to say.
China's current economic model is built on exporting its way out of its economic troubles. It's an unsustainable model that is not only harming China, but the entire world.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has indicated that he may resume tariffs on Chinese imports, depending on the outcome of ongoing trade talks. This is what Trump had to say on making a trade deal with China.
tariffs on Chinese goods?
Well, that
now?
depends on them. We have a situation where we have a very, very great place. It's called the United States of America, and it's been ripped off for years and years. These people know it. We talk.
Beijing says any claims of ongoing trade talks with Washington were groundless after US President Donald Trump played up the prospects of a deal to lower hefty tariffs he imposed on China. Here is what the Chinese Commerce Ministry spokesman further said.
作为对外经贸关系的主管部门，我想强调的是，目前中美之间未进行任何经贸谈判，任何关于中美经贸谈判进展的说法都是捕风捉影，没有事实依据。
In a related development, 12 US states have filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration, arguing that the tariffs are essentially tax hikes that were imposed without congressional approval. The lawsuit states that tariffs must be approved by Congress and questioned Trump invoking a 1970s law called the International Economic Emergency Powers Act to enact the levies. The International Monetary Fund has also weighed in, warning that the tariffs will slow global economic growth and exacerbate debt levels. Now, to discuss this further, we're joined by Srikanth Kondanpalli, Professor of China Studies at JNU. Thank you very much for joining us. Professor, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that these tariffs are unsustainable. Is this the first real crack in Trump's tough trade posture?
Well, we do not know exactly whether there will be any change, revisions in the Liberation Day tariffs announced on April 2nd. These have increased, obviously, up to nearly 245%. And in some cases, in Cambodia and Laos, to almost 1,300% or so. So there is the tariffs that were imposed across the board. And while a reprieve was given to nearly 90 countries, but they have sustained over China these 245% of the tariffs. Now the plan B that the Treasury Secretary was mentioning is that they will not decrease the tariffs to zero level, but it would be somewhere between 50% to 65%, which would mean that the tariffs on China will remain, even though these will be reduced from 245% announced recently by President Trump, number one. Number two, I think the emphasis is on critical, exports from China to the United States. So there will be more tariffs on some products compared to the other low-tech, medium-tech products. So this is another, view that is coming up from the White House.
Yes.
There is also, of course, the suggestion by China about 4 conditions for the resumption of a dialogue process between the two. And they want to have a lead negotiator, and the threats, etc., need to be stopped, as well as some decorum need to be maintained. The suggestion on there should be no blackmail on the Chinese.
Yes.
It is not clear whether the United States will accept these or not. Nevertheless, there is a team currently of a low-level economic officers from China attending the IMF World Bank discussions as we speak now, and they are expected to go back to China today. So let us see what happens.
Yes, and Professor Kondanpalli, obviously, China has said that these trade negotiations haven't started yet. Donald Trump says they're going very well. What do you make of Donald Trump's negotiating when it comes to his trade talks?
I think there may have been some back channel diplomacy and talks that are going on. These are outside the purview of public scrutiny, and much of the discussion happens actually at this level. And the leaders generally announce the outcome of these discussions. So we do not know exactly what is going on, but there are some Chinese negotiators in Washington, D.C., of course, attending other functions like the Bretton Woods institutions, but we are not very sure about those in relation to direct negotiations with the United States.
Yes, and one final question, Professor Kondapalli. Sorry. With the tariffs now at 145% on China and 125% on US goods, are we already in a full-blown trade war, or is this just a sort of stalemate?
Indeed, it is, and in a negative manner, stalemate, because of the tariffs, the Chinese exports have fallen they were curbed due to the shipping curbs in the United States. There is an expectation that if these tariffs are to be implemented for over a long period of time, 80% of the Chinese shipping would be shut down in the United States. Of course, China is planning to divert them to other destinations like South America, like Africa, like Asia. However, the problem with these countries is their domestic consumption is very less. Even China's domestic consumption is just about 53% compared to 69% in the United States. In comparison, in India, it is about 63% domestic consumption. So that means that the Chinese cannot really divert much of their trade to other countries because the United States consumption is pretty high.
Professor Kondapalli, thank you very much for joining us. We now move on. President Donald Trump stated yesterday that he could reimpose reciprocal tariffs on certain countries within the next 2 to 3 weeks, marking a potential re-escalation of the global trade war. Meanwhile, Japanese electric motor manufacturer NewsX has reported a larger than expected quarterly profit and forecast a record annual operating profit. However, the Kyoto-based company also cautioned about uncertainty in the global economic outlook, citing new US tariffs as a factor. NewsX anticipates an operating profit of 260 billion yen for the current business year through March 2026, a significant rise from the previous year's 240.2 billion yen. In Finland, telecoms equipment maker Nokia posted a net loss of 60 million euros for the first quarter, blaming the ongoing tariff wars and a rapidly shifting global trade landscape. Nokia's president and CEO, Justin Hotard, expressed confidence, noting that despite these challenges, early customer feedback suggests the company's market should remain relatively resilient. Lastly, South Korea's SK Hynix, a key supplier of high-bandwidth memory processors to NVIDIA, saw its quarterly profit more than double. The company remains optimistic about AI chip demand, expecting only limited effects from potential US tariffs. Washington has initiated an investigation into semiconductor imports, citing concerns over national security due to resilience on foreign production. We move on once again. US President Donald Trump and the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, clashed again on efforts to end the 3-year war in Ukraine, with the US leader rebuking Zelensky for refusing to recognize Russia's occupation of Crimea. Trump's Vice President, J.D. Vance, said it was time for Russia and Ukraine to either agree to US's peace proposal or they should be ready for the US to walk away from this process. On the other hand, Zelensky has reiterated that Ukraine would never cede Crimea to Russia. Let's take a listen to what the President of Ukraine had to say on the Crimean.
Тому що як тільки ми починаємо говорити про Крим, про наші суверенні території тощо, ми заходимо в формат, якого і хоче Росія, затягування війни. Тому що швидко домовитись про все не вийде. І Україна не визнає юридично окупацію Криму. Нема про що говорити. Це поза нашою Конституцією. Це наша територія. Територія народу України. Ми не можемо просто, а чому би ні? Чого не будемо?
Earlier in March, Trump had argued with his Ukrainian counterpart that Crimea was lost to Russia long ago and is not even a point of discussion and is only making peace harder to achieve. Later, in a post on X, Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his views on the London talks. He mentioned that the talks among US, Ukrainian and European officials were marked by high emotions, but also expressed hope that future might bring peace. Zelensky is now in South Africa, where he is expected to meet international leaders as the United States is trying to broker peace talks with Russia. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent met with Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal in Washington on Wednesday. He urged Ukraine to finalize a key resource extradition deal without any further delay. The agreement would grant the US royalty payments from profits made through the mining of Ukrainian resources and rare minerals. Shmyhal is in the US to seal the deal by Saturday. President Trump is pushing for the agreement as payback for aid given to Ukraine under President Biden after Russia's 2022 invasion. The talks had stalled in February following a clash between Trump and the Ukrainian President Zelensky. Bessent said it's time to wrap up technical discussions and sign the economic partnership. He also called the latest talks highly productive, according to recent Treasury reports. We have some breaking news from the developing situation. Pakistan has announced a reduction in the strength of the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. The number of diplomats and staff members will be cut to 30, effective from April the 30th. Meanwhile, Pakistan has warned that any attempt to stop or divert its water flow or infringe on the rights of lower patriots will be considered as an act of war. The warning comes amid heightened tensions over water resources in the region. Well, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world. Thank you.